Hey, how's it going? My name is Clancy, and today we're gonna deconstruct my song, Mañana.
Well, I don't wanna hear a single word you say, but it would be nice.
Mañana is song number 5 off of my debut album, Daydreaming. I've already done other videos covering the first 4 tracks of the album, so you can go check them out over there. And if you haven't listened to Mañana, you can listen to it up here, so you have more context of what we're gonna dive into. So, how did I start this song? As most of my songs, I started with a voice memo. I don't remember what I was doing. I don't remember if I was just like playing piano for fun, playing some other pre-existing songs, or if I was purposely trying to write something new. But the only thing I have is the original voice memo that started everything. Found it. Whoa. Holy goddamn it. This is old. I don't know if you can see it. No, it's not gonna focus. But it says, like, the original voice memo is called To Never Be Afraid. And I recorded it on November 20th, 2020. Like in the middle of quarantine. That's crazy. Oh my god. It sounds like this.
I don't wanna hear a single word you say.
That's crazy. I didn't realize it was that old. And I'm having this whole moment of like, I had that idea and I thought it was that good that I preserved it till 4 years later and I actually made it into a track. As soon as I had the idea, I tried to record it on Ableton. And you know how some artists will say like, oh, we did like 40 versions of this song. We couldn't get it right. This, whatever. I never understood that feeling. But for this song, I remember that I did this is like the 3rd version of this song. I have 2 other versions in my old laptop. But yeah, this is the 3rd version of the song. I think we should start with the first instrument that you hear in the song is the keyboard. I really love the idea of that being the motif of the song. I think I do this with certain songs. Whenever I have to transition from one intense part to the next, I just use that motif to bridge those two. In this case, it was this one. At this point, I'm 100% sure that I want this song to like explode and be this like anthem that's in your face. And when it quiets down, I want it to go to this. That's just 2 electric pianos, just with different textures, just doing the same chords. And they're matched together, so you hear just one full sound. So yeah, that's it with the keyboard. Then we have this little effect here. It's just an ambience, like... It gives it a little bit more texture. It makes it a little bit more interesting. We'll get into synthesizers in a bit, but I just want to show you this part right here where you hear this this is just a build up of the synths that are gonna come after this. Just a little effect there. And we have the drums. So the drums right here. I'm very proud of these drums, and I'll tell you why. It's because these are not real drums. Most of the time I don't record real drums. Okay, I'm sorry. That was uncalled for. This right here is a very famous plugin called Easy Drummer 2. And it's a drum sample library that has all these types of drum kits that sound like an acoustic drum set. So if you don't have a drum kit, you can just use this. And I didn't even play it like on the electronic drum kit or nothing. I just programmed it this way. But I'm really proud of it because it actually sounds like a drum set. And it's not easy to get that type of sound. It was a mixture of me playing it on the keyboard, playing the patterns, and little tweaks here and there with the velocity, which is basically the intensity with which you play drums. So take a listen right here. It actually sounds like a person playing these drums. And another thing, with certain songs, you'll just pick like a drum pattern and you'll stick with it throughout the rest of the song. But in this case, the song was calling me to do different types of patterns depending on the section of the song. That's part of the reason I remember that the other versions weren't working, or because of the drums, because I couldn't get them right. Like, it took me a while to get this type of sound. So, for example, in the first verse, you get this pattern right here. And then in the chorus, we just keep it way more simple. It's just a very thumpy kick drum, and then this. You know, it all depends on the section. This is nothing crazy. It's just that I wasn't used to doing anything like this, but I think it turned out pretty well. And now we're getting into synth land. The main thing that drives this song is the synthesizers, and you'll hear it right here. We start out with these four. In most of these cases, I'll show you later where it's not, but in most of these cases, it's just me playing the same thing. A lot of times just duplicating my original performance and just putting that on another sound. So you start layering that way. But over here, I'll show you the layers. It's this one. Very 80s type of sound. This is just to add some texture, so it sounds like a bit distorted. Yeah. Part of this song was just to make it as in your face as possible, as intense as possible. I think it kind of goes with the themes of the song. I think it's one of the most passionate songs in the album, and the album is actually, like, I would say that the second half is like very emotional and passionate. And no wonder we start off with this song, and then we get to the verses, which is a bit more simple. The point of these synths are more to create a certain atmosphere. You can hear it here. Just peace and quiet, you know. You got this one. Same thing, it's just to add a bit more texture to it, and that's what you hear with these drums. You barely notice it's there. And then you add these like sweeping like violin type synths. That one and this one. It all sounds very 80s. So you mix them all together. Yeah, and once we get to the chorus, you hear this one, which is kind of like the main character in the chorus. I literally took it from Nexus, which gives you very basic sounds in my opinion, but that's what I wanted for this track. It was like a trance type synth with a sidechain. The sidechain basically means that every time you hear the kick drum, volume goes down and then it comes back up, and kick drum again, and that's how it goes. I don't know if you can hear it if I play it like this. That's basically what gives it that feeling. Also this one in the second chorus to amplify that character. Not as in your face, but still plays its part. And then at the end, you can hear this one right here. Very subtle. You won't notice it in the mix, but it gives it this constant evolution in the track. And by the end, I'm playing all the synthesizers all at once, and it sounds like this. Awesome. Honestly, I thought it would take me longer to talk about that, but apparently not. The other one is just a little detail in one of the pre-choruses. Is this one. It's just like some 80s type bells, you know. I added it because I felt like that pre-chorus was a bit empty, and I just came up with that. I was like, yeah, that's good enough. Then we could talk about the bass. Oh no, I want to add something to the drums. Is that in the chorus, I added these little things to amplify its character. So the original drums, right? They sound like this in the second half of the chorus. But I felt that I needed to give the snare a bit of a reverb. I wanted to hear more of the high end of the tom, so I just added a bunch of samples. This one. Just add this. Sounds very cheap, but you'll hear it everything together in a minute. Yeah, and that just too, so you can hear the snare a bit more. And all together, let me remind you, this is how it sounded by itself. And this is with the little tweaks. It all makes a difference. Now we can get to the bass, which I'm usually a fan of a bass that you can actually hear and feel. And it's not the case in this song. And this song is kind of like sitting in the background. But if you hear the track without it, you totally feel like it's missing something. And also, I don't know why I try to be like kind of fancy with the bass. You can't hear it, but at the same time, I don't know if this is my subconscious or something, but I felt like that's the way it needed to be. What do I mean by fancy? You hear those changes? Like, I could just go root note, you know, right? I could just play those notes and that's it. But I wanted to do those little transitions. This totally sounds like a very punk type of bass, which is not very common for me. This is not the bass tone that I usually go for, but that's the one the song demanded. Context. Here it changes as well. Here I just went a little more straightforward. And then the chorus. In my head, I thought that this part would need like a synth bass or something, but the regular bass worked just fine. So yeah, just so you understand, this is the track, how it sounds, the final version. And this is without the bass. Not the same. Before we go to the vocals and the solo, I want to show you the little riser and impact that I did here. It's just these four that you can see that they repeat a couple more times throughout the song, but it's just like right before the chorus. Some little sounds so you kind of feels like you're entering through a portal. I think I can show you the vocals now. I don't even remember recording these. I don't know how this went, but this is how they sound.
I've never seen before.
Instead of doing like a delay or something, like I just did a separate track with separate effects. I just copied and pasted what I said. So that's how you get that effect.
Someone who had it all.
Then we got the chorus, which is like the processing was a bit different because the atmosphere is completely different in this part.
Well, I don't wanna hear a single word you say, but it would be nice.
So yeah, you get the point. I just want to show you this really fun thing real quick. So you know how in this part of the song, right?
Though it would be nice.
And then you hear the delayed part. And in theory, you should hear the exact same thing. I was like, let me play around with it. And I just like switched the tone in the computer of like certain notes that I said. So it sounds like this. And it sounds kind of cheap, but because it's so buried in the mix, you don't even notice. And then the other thing is that the same exact take of this. And instead of like what I usually do, which is like record a separate harmony or something like that, same thing. I just copied and pasted the same performance, the same take, and just pitched it accordingly. And then a higher part. Together, it sounds like a regular harmony, just a little too perfect. So yeah, laziness 101. Another cool thing that I did, just a little detail to spice up the song, was this right here.
Thought I could beat the bar.
I don't know how I came up with that. So you see that I just chopped the take where I was supposed to say the other thing. I put it in a separate track, and that's the one that does the effect. And the last thing about the vocals is this part right here, which at first I didn't like. Like, I wanted to do this melody, but I wanted to do other takes of it, but then I just committed to this one, which is basically just 2 takes of vocals, hard panned with a bunch of auto-tune. So that's why they sound kind of like wobbly in a way. And finally, we get to one of the most interesting parts, in my opinion, which is the solo at the end of the song. And if you've listened to the song, I don't know what you thought it was. Maybe you thought it was a guitar. Maybe you thought it was a synth. Wrong. What this is merely me singing into a dynamic microphone, just like the ones you hold, right? With a bunch of autotune and a bunch of distortion. And I was just improvising. The version you hear right here is just the best parts that I could find in the takes that I did. It's just this. You can hear there's a filter there too, and I was basically messing with it while I was singing. I really like that it's a vocal take, basically, because you can hear all of the expressions, all of the breathing, all of the everything. I did some things here that you cannot do with a synth, or that it's very difficult to achieve, or you can achieve it but in a very different way with a regular synth. And then something that's also kind of buried in the mix is that I took all of the takes that I did. It's just like a messy organ. It's like a bagpipe. So context, we're gonna play the solo with the bagpipe. I feel like it's nothing pretty, but I feel like it kind of describes how the track plays out, which is very messy, distorted, you know, lo-fi, but it's very passionate and very emotional and overblown in a good way. So yeah, I think we covered everything. Thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and if you didn't like it, still give it a thumbs up, so at least you can support me in this channel. Subscribe and hit the bell so you stay tuned for when I post my next video. Also, next week I'm dropping a new song. It's called No Mas. It's my first song in Spanish. So yeah, do all the things I just told you to do so you can stay tuned specifically for that. And yeah, I'll take my time with the next few tracks of Daydreaming, but it'll come out. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Peace.